6 things that make men lose interest immediately. In this video, I'm gonna tell you how you might unintentionally be scaring guys away. It's Sabrina, your personal love advisor from A New Mode, the channel where we show you how love actually works. One thing I've noticed over my many years as a relationship writer and coach is that most women have no idea how they're coming across to men. And then they're left completely baffled when a guy who seemed to really like them suddenly loses interest or ghosts them. The woman doesn't get it because she was coming from a place of wanting to win him over, wanting to show him how great she is, and she thought she was doing a good job, but then the opposite happened and he just completely lost interest in her and she has no idea why. My main source of information for the articles I write, for the videos, for the books that I've written, for everything is the men themselves. I spent years and years and years gathering data, from interviewing men face to face to sending out a survey to every guy that I know, literally. That's what I study. I study men. And over these years, I have noticed some recurring themes when it comes to the behaviors that completely turn a guy off and make him lose interest. And I'm gonna share them with you right here. So make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. Real quick, if you like this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. This is a super quick, super easy, will take less than a second way for you to help me grow my channel. It lets YouTube know that this is a good video and YouTube should recommend it to other people. Also make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified when I post new content. And for even more relationship advice, make sure to join the A New Mode newsletter. On the newsletter, me and Eric's my partner in A New Mode, we share our best content, we answer all of your questions, we share personal stories. It's our best content delivered straight to your inbox every day. You can subscribe at anewmode.com/subscribe and be sure to follow me on Instagram at anewmode. Okay, let's get into it. These are the things that make a man instantly lose interest. Number 1, trying to win him over. So I talked about this a lot in my video about why you want the guys who don't want you. You should definitely watch that when you're done here. It's one of my favorite videos on this entire channel. Basically, with the guys that you're lukewarm about, you're not trying to win them over. You're waiting for him to win you over. With the guys that you lock in on and really like, you're trying to win him over. And that completely shifts the dynamic and that completely makes him lose interest, because a guy can only develop real feelings for you if he invests in you, if he has the opportunity to win you over. Men are competitive by nature. That's what really activates a man. That's what really gets him to lock in and focus on you. When you're trying to win him over, it sends the message that you don't really think that you're worthy of him. You're just kind of hoping you can make enough of a case for yourself, or maybe that he won't notice and he'll pick you anyway. That's the message that comes across. I mean, think about it logically. Emotionally, when you're in this situation, you feel like, I really, really like this guy. I want to show him how great I am because I really want him to like me back. And okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense in terms of like how you feel. When you think about it, if you're trying to prove yourself to him in order to get him to pick you, you're basically saying, you're better than me. I just hope that you don't notice, or I hope that you just pick me anyway. That's not what you want. You want the guy winning you over, working to show you how amazing he is so that you pick him. Essentially, the mindset to have is that you're the prize that he's trying to win over. I know you really, really, really like him, but you have to remind yourself of that as much as you possibly can. Otherwise, it's finished and he will lose interest so quick. Essentially, when you try to prove yourself to someone else, everything you do, no matter how sweet and benevolent the action, everything is coated with the stench of desperation, and that poisons everything. Number 2, pushing an agenda on him. If you're a regular on A New Mode, then this is something that you've heard before because we talk about it a lot. The worst, capital letters worst, thing you can do is push an agenda on a man. Men hate this. People hate this. We hate it when someone has an agenda they're trying to force on us. It doesn't feel good. You kind of feel like, get away from me with your agenda. I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. The agenda approach is basically when you meet a guy, you really like him, lock in on him, he checks all the boxes, and you want him to be your boyfriend. And that is what you're focusing on. And every interaction with him is with the intention of pushing that agenda and moving to that place and getting to the official relationship place. Men don't really operate like this in a relationship. Men don't usually make commitment their goal. Commitment is usually the byproduct. So he's spending time with you, he enjoys you. He enjoys it so much, he wants to spend more time with you. Then as things progress, he realizes, I'd rather be with her than not be with her. I have more fun spending time with her than I ever did, when I was a single bachelor living it up, whatever the case. Yeah, I think I want to make this something. It's just a natural progression. He doesn't start out guns blazing like, yeah, I have to make her mine. And anytime a guy is like that, it freaks a woman out and she's immediately put off by it. Also, that is usually a signal of like something not being quite right with a guy, because any guy that either I've dated or any of my friends or even any of my readers have dated who has pushed an agenda, wanted to be boyfriend, girlfriend after 2 dates, was professing his love right away, there was something wrong with him and the relationship just ended in absolute disaster. Most men live in the moment. They're in the here and now. He does not want to feel like he's living in some sort of pressure cooker where he has to meet deadlines and he has to say certain things by certain dates. Otherwise, you're going to be upset and it's going to be a problem for you, and it's a problem that he has to deal with. A very common question that I get is, why did he suddenly lose interest? I was dating this guy, everything was going so well, and then he just seemed to suddenly lose interest out of the blue. I don't know what happened, what went wrong. Oftentimes what goes wrong is you go from being this fun, easy to be around girl, because maybe that's how you were in the very beginning, to someone with an agenda who's trying to get something out of him. It's this shift. Maybe it's the shift when you realize, you know, this is the kind of guy I could marry. All right, I gotta make it work with this guy. Then that changes everything because your vibe changes. It doesn't feel the same around you. It doesn't feel good around you anymore. It's not enjoyable. It feels like you're always trying to get something out of him. You're trying to get him to say something or do something or have a certain conversation. And that messes everything up. And then you'll notice him pulling away until he ultimately just loses interest and he's gone. This is a main difference between men and women. And most men and most women, I know this isn't true of all men and all women. We're just speaking in generalities here because it just makes life easier. Most men are comfortable with a relationship where it is and allow it to progress naturally. A lot of women look for ways to improve the relationship and take it beyond where it currently is to the next level. Now, I'm not saying either gender is right or wrong here. You can't just coast in no man's land forever. The relationship has to move somewhere. And you also can't force things along because that just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel natural. There has to be a middle ground. There has to be a balance between comfortably enjoying the present while laying the foundation for a future. And this can happen. It just can't happen forcefully. You have to let things unfold more organically without pressure. And the way you do this is to let go of this feeling of needing things to be a certain way and attaching your self-worth to it. It really comes down to having an attitude of, I'll be okay no matter what. Yeah, I would love for things to work out with this guy, but if they don't, then I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'll be able to handle it. This is so much less of like a pressure, intense vibe and energy. That's the kind of energy that feels good to be around. The it will be fine no matter what, not the I need things to be a certain way or else I really will not be okay. Number 3, when you do all the work. In theory, it seems like a guy would love a girl who just makes his life so easy, so convenient, shows up with beer, cooking his favorite food, doing whatever he wants, whatever he says. Yeah, in theory, that sounds great. But in reality, no man wants this. Or no man stays interested in this for long. He might keep a girl like this around because yeah, it's nice, it's great, it's convenient, it's easy. But that is not what gets a man to invest, and that is not what gets him to commit, and that is not what makes him interested in you. This is what sets the stage for you to be a doormat and for you to be taken for granted, because he knows if he wants to see you, you'll show up. He can call you last minute. He can cancel on you last minute if he finds some other girl he wants to go out with. And the next day you'll still show up. He knows he doesn't have to plan any dates in advance with you or in general because you'll do it. He doesn't have to call you or text you because you'll do it. He doesn't even have to think of anything funny or interesting to say. You'll do it. You do everything. You do all the work. If this is the dynamic you're in, you have to pull back in a major way and let him come to you. Again, this ties very closely into winning a man over. Not attractive, not appealing. He will just lose interest so fast. Number 4, complaining. There's something about complaining that just feels so good. Like, there's something so satisfying about it. And maybe with your girlfriends, you can enjoy that, the commiserating and the complaining, but guys hate it. I think it's because men are much more drama averse than women are. Guys really don't like it when a woman is negative and complaining. Yes, of course, sometimes you have to vent, but in general, it's just not pleasant to be around someone like that. And men have a very, very strong desire to make a woman happy. I know it doesn't always feel like this, but that is something that is a very strong driving force in a man. And if you are always negative and complaining and seeing the bad in things, he's just gonna feel like nothing will ever be good enough for this woman and he will lose interest. A man will never invest in a woman who he doesn't think that he can make happy. Period. End of story. It doesn't matter who she is, how beautiful, how amazing, how much she has going for her. If she is a negative, complaining person, he will not want to deal with her. A guy doesn't want to feel like hanging out with you is something he has to deal with, as opposed to something that he enjoys. And if you are in that negative space, that's how it's gonna be. I have so many friends, and actually even this happened to me once. Like a guy broke up with me because I was very negative and complaining, because it was like a very difficult time in my life. I complained a lot and he couldn't take it. I know another guy who dated this girl who was everything that he was looking for. She checked all the boxes, but she never really showed appreciation. She took him for granted, and she always found the negative things and was always like picking things apart. And he was like, I can't do this. And that's what happens time and time again. So really watch the negativity, watch how much you complain, try to shift to a bit of a more optimistic outlook. This will not just help you in relationships, this will help you in your life in general. Another thing that's important to realize is, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like women bond through drama and complaining and how hard things are, but it's really important not to make the mistake of turning your relationship into an emotional dumping ground. Maybe it feels like a way to bond, and on occasion, yeah, of course, you want to talk to your partner about the things that are bothering you. But men are much more sensitive to the negativity and all the burden. And if you do always put your problems on him, he'll almost be like, oh, is she saying that I'm the problem? Am I like what's making her so miserable and making her life so difficult? Men just really are averse to this kind of thing. So again, just pay attention to it and just get it under control if this is a problem for you. Number 5, talking excessively. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but this was definitely a problem for me because I can be very long-winded and very wordy, as some of you kindly point out in the comment section, but it is something that I'm working on. Don't feel like you have to fill every silence. Again, this was a problem for me. Like I would feel like if there was a silence on a date, I would feel like, oh my God, he's gonna think I'm boring and I have nothing to say and I have nothing interesting. So I gotta think of something real quick. No, you don't have to think of anything. Let him think of something. Fine, it's silent. Let him use his brain a little bit to think of something to say. The burden does not have to be on you. And as women, this is something that we do. We take on responsibility for everything in a relationship. We're like, oh, if there's a silence, it must be because I'm not interesting to talk to. So I have to think about something interesting to say. Don't do this. There's a few reasons why you shouldn't do this. Number 1, I think that talking is a way to kind of prove yourself to him and kind of show him what you're about, especially it's the first few dates and you want him to know that you're really smart. You know a lot of stuff. You want him to know that you're really kind and generous. You have to tell him about some of the kind, generous things that you've done. You want him to know that you're worldly, that you're well-traveled, that you're fun, that you're a good time. You're like, how is he gonna know all these things? If I only show him one side of my personality, then he's not gonna know that all these other layers exist. But when you talk like that, it comes across like you trying to prove yourself to him, which, as I mentioned earlier, is not a good thing and comes across as desperate and needy. It also doesn't come across as confident. It doesn't come across as, oh, okay, yeah, this woman has a lot going for her and she really, loves herself and realizes she has a lot going for her. It comes across as arrogant, and arrogance is a huge turnoff. People are inherently repelled by braggers. It also makes you seem like, by asserting your wonderful almightiness, that you're someone who can never do wrong, and you're someone who will just never take criticism from him, and you're someone who's always gonna think that you're in the right. And this is just a sign of emotional immaturity. Also, the talking, it just makes you come across as kind of a drama queen, as someone who's just a lot to be around. And a guy might feel like, this woman is never gonna give me a minute of peace. I'm never gonna have any quiet. She's just not gonna shut up. And guys just like to keep their lives simple, drama-free, easy. So a guy will instantly be turned off by a woman who's like this. And like I told you, this was a problem for me. And when I learned how to get it under control and shut up a little bit when I went on dates, I noticed a huge shift in the way guys responded to me and how interested in me they would become. And I was very conscious of this with my relationship with my husband. So this was the huge turning point for me, getting the endless talking under control. Number 6, when you're not interested in anything, the number 1 way to get a guy to be interested in you is to, ready? Be interesting. You have to have interests other than getting a boyfriend. You need to have an interesting life, a life that you're excited by, something that gets you revved up every day. You have to have things going on. You have to have passions, hobbies, interests, or maybe just a job you really love. There has to be something. Men love a passionate woman. They love it when you share your passions, and they love knowing that you have other things going on in your life. So this is really important. Look at the way that you're living your life. What are you doing? How are you spending your time? Are you pursuing things that are important to you, that are meaningful to you, that charge you up, that rev you up, that make you feel alive, that make you feel good about yourself? If not, then you really need to focus on doing those things. And when you have these interests, you create this life for yourself that he wants to be a part of. Okay, so now what if you're seeing a guy and you feel like he might be losing interest? Maybe you realize that you've done a few things on this list or all the things on this list, and you recognize where you went wrong and he's totally losing interest. Like, can you salvage this? Can you save this? Yes, it can be saved, but you need to take one giant step back. Like I said, men need the space to invest in you. And if you are right up there, right in his face, and doing everything, he doesn't have that space. So do less, pull back. Now, a lot of people get scared, but what if he thinks I lost interest in him? That's a good thing. That will work in your favor. Let him think that you're losing interest so that he steps it up, he ups his game, and he invests in you. And you should use this pulling back time to focus on you. Up until now, I'm assuming you've only been focused on him. You've been obsessing over him. You've been wondering where his head is at. How does he feel? Why is he sending mixed messages? Stop all of that and focus on you. Focus on, why was I acting so desperate in this relationship? Why was I being so needy? Why was I working so hard to win him over? Why do I feel like I'm unworthy of him? Focus on those questions. Stop focusing on him. Let him do some work and come to you. Focus on just being able to enjoy life. And when you're with him, focus on being able to enjoy your time with him. This is what will change everything. It will change your vibe, and that will dramatically change the dynamic in the relationship, and that will dramatically change how he feels about you and how he views you. So what do you think of this list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you recognize yourself in any of these points? Please leave me a comment in the comment section. I read them all. For more relationship advice, check out anewmode.com, subscribe to our newsletter, anewmode.com/subscribe, follow me on Instagram @anewmode, and I will see you in the next video.